Exactly. Well, we'll go ahead and get started because we have a great program today. I just want to welcome everyone, and I'm Chanda Ryan, the Executive Director for the Navarre Beach Chamber, and we appreciate you taking time to join us for our Commerce and Coffee sponsored by Santa Rosa Medical Center, who's a long-time member of the Chamber and supporter of the Navarre community. And if everyone will please go ahead and mute your audio so we can clearly hear our guest speakers this morning, that would be great. I want to welcome all our chamber members and prospective members, community leaders, and our neighbors that are joining us this morning. If you're not currently a chamber member, we hope you'll consider joining the chamber soon. Today's agenda is going to include 2 guest speakers that will be discussing the safety of Santa Rosa County and our school district, some networking, and hopefully meeting some of our new members. And now I want to introduce you to Magen Norwood, the marketing coordinator for Santa Rosa Medical Center in Milton, Florida. Magen received her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in Marketing from the University of Southern Mississippi, where she graduated in the top 10% of her college. She is a graduate of Leadership Santa Rosa and awarded the Community Leader of the Year for Santa Rosa County in 2019. Magen is the current chair of the Santa Rosa Young Professionals and a proud resident of Santa Rosa County. Welcome, Magen.
Thank you, Chanda. First, I just want to say thank you so much for the love and support that the Navarre community has shown us throughout this pandemic. We are so grateful to live and work in this community, and without the help of all of you guys, whether that has been through keeping us in your thoughts or even sewing a mask, we greatly appreciate it. Our new building, so if most of you aren't familiar, we used to be on Ortega Street in Navarre, a little small clinic. But we built a new building last year and it's officially been open for 1 year. So with that expansion, we have been able to provide more healthcare services to the Navarre community. So not only family medicine, now we have a walk-in clinic open Monday through Saturday from 7:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. But we also provide general surgery, orthopedics, women's health, and a weight loss surgery center. We have just started last week offering allergy treatments in Navarre. So if that's your kind of time of year and you're thinking about getting tested for allergies, your initial appointment will have to be at our Pace location, but all of your treatments afterwards can be at our Navarre clinic. So that's another added service that we've added to the Navarre community. And lastly, I'm really excited to announce that we are bringing a new family practice physician to our Navarre clinic. Her name is Dr. Krista Silverman, and she will be providing family medicine starting on August 3rd. So be looking out for a special announcement coming out about her. She sees patients anywhere from birth to death. So we'll start scheduling her later next month for new patients if you are looking for a new family practice provider. And that's all I have. Thank you guys for letting us sponsor today.
Awesome. Thanks, Magen. We appreciate you sponsoring this morning's Commerce and Coffee.
Absolutely.
And now I want to introduce our Navigators Captain, Gretchen Carter with Organized Occasions Concierge.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. It's so good to get to see everyone once a month. I was thinking about the difference of attending a Zoom meeting than when we used to go to a place and meet. And the thing I thought about was a lot of times when I would go to the place to meet, I had in my mind a couple of people that I really wanted to be sure I saw and talked to that day. So what I would encourage everyone to do right now is if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll see the list of participants. Open that up and see everyone that is participating in the Zoom meeting today, because it may remind you of a chamber member that you want to seek out to do business with. So take a look at the participants, see who all is on the call today, and if there's someone you really need to connect with, be sure and do that after today's meeting. If there's anyone on today's meeting that this is the first time that you've attended and you're thinking about joining the chamber, we want to welcome you. Reach out to me personally. I will be happy to tell you what the chamber membership has meant to me and some advantages that I've kind of discovered through the membership. And then the last thing that I would really encourage every member today to think about is, you probably saw an email from Chanda that said that your membership had been upgraded. Now, you may have just sort of put that email off to the side and not thought about it, but I want to tell you the things that have been upgraded. You can add video, you can add pictures, you can add news releases and member-to-member specials and hot deals. So when we're in a state where we can't meet person to person, the best way for me to know about your services and for you to know about my services is to utilize the tools that we do have. And the chamber provides a lot of great tools for all of our businesses. So I encourage everyone, take the time to use that upgraded membership, add those pictures, add that information, so that the next time I'm thinking of a business that I need, be it I need to get my oil changed, I need to have my air conditioner fixed, I need to, whatever it is, the first place I'm going to go is the chamber's directory, and the more information I see on there about you, the better it's going to be. So thank you all for being here today. Thank you for your time this morning, and I really appreciate your participation in today's event and encourage you to really take the time to upgrade your membership. It's free, no, it didn't cost you anything, so use that free benefit. That's all for me.
Okay, well, thank you, Gretchen. I am Monica Meyer, Edward Jones Financial Advisor here in Navarre and the 2020 Chairman of the Navarre Beach Chamber of Commerce. Boy, if I would have known at the beginning of the year what I was getting into, I don't know if I'd be saying those words right now, but here we are. So again, like Gretchen was saying, it's just so good to see everybody on here. And it's really hard to believe. I don't know if you're like me, but it's hard to believe we're already halfway, more than halfway through 2020. So I kind of at times feel like I've been hit by a Mack truck. I don't know about anybody else. But before I introduce our guest speakers, I just want to give a shout out and a thank you to all of our county leaders, staff, our first responders, and really thank them for all the hard work they've been putting in to really balance the needs of the community during this challenging time. Also, thank you so much to the businesses, large and small, the churches and organizations that have really stepped up to help the people of the community with all of their works and food drives and adding money and doing grants and things like that. It just really goes to show how much we were all involved in this community and we love the community. And also I want to thank all of you on the call or on the Zoom meeting and all of the business on here and just the community itself for just stepping up and doing our part to make sure that we get through this challenging time as unscathed as we can, and we will get through it and we will be a stronger community for it. So now I want to introduce our first speaker this morning and personally thank him for everything he's been doing to keep us safe during the COVID-19 crisis. The stay-at-home orders, wildfires, let's see, what else can we throw in there? Oh, maybe preparing for an average or above average hurricane season and more. Born and raised in Santa Rosa County, Brad Baker started with Santa Rosa County in 1989 as a 911 dispatcher and has been involved with public safety in Santa Rosa County ever since. He is a firefighter, paramedic, local volunteer fire chief for his community, Allentown Type 3 Incident Commander, and leads the Northwest Florida Incident Management Team. He is a security leader at Living Truth Church, to top it off. Please welcome Brad Baker, the Emergency Management and Public Safety Director for Santa Rosa County. Welcome, Brad.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here this morning. Yes, we started looking back on 2020. We decided we would put us a disaster checklist on the board, and we're doing our part to fill out every disaster we can this year. As everybody knows, we've checked off pandemic, we've checked off wildfire, we've had our tropical breeze. Hey, now we have a dust storm here. So, hey, who would ever thought that? So, lots of interesting things happening this year and challenging for sure. Yesterday we had one of our highest pandemic numbers. That, kind of puts everybody back on alert that, we started opening up. We have seen the age median shift to the lower side. And a lot of those are tied with our gathering places, I guess is the best way to say that. And those younger, 18, 24 to early 30s, or, when you mix alcohol and going out together, you really don't go out to social distance, you go out to be with people. And I think we're seeing that from the last few days of the trend of those numbers spiking up. So we'll continue to push our message about pandemic response. And that is, you need to social distance, you need to take it serious, you need to, wear a mask when you can't social distance. That's as much to protect others than yourself. There's a lot of unknown with this pandemic. We don't know, other than the transmission rate is definitely higher. Really don't know a whole lot about it. Asymptomatic people are carriers of it. So, it's a challenging time, and I think it'll be here with us for a while. So we'll just continue to plug along with that. Of course, we want to talk about hurricane preparedness, and those in the Navarre are definitely our first line of people affected by a hurricane that come in, especially on the beach. I say nothing. The primary change this year with hurricane response is our sheltering component. We have multiple shelters in Santa Rosa County. We actually have a surplus to shelters, so that's always a good thing. So our major change is we will limit the amount of people in our shelter, which fortunately for Santa Rosa County has never really been a problem. And I don't think people will be rushing to shelters this year in the middle of a pandemic, but we do have a plan. And we've worked with our partners, thanks to Daniel and the school board, Red Cross, and those. So you'll see some new things come out if we do get a storm. You'll see a thing called non-congregate sheltering. That will be an option. That's using hotel rooms. Obviously, if it hits Santa Rosa County, we will not be pushing you to a hotel in Santa Rosa County. We have criteria for risk shelters, and the school builds those facilities that we deem necessary for sheltering to a higher standard. And we just don't believe the hotels are built to that standard enough that we're going to say, yes, go to them as a risk shelter. So be a lot of interesting times as hurricane season evolves. But other than that, it's the same thing. You need to be prepared. Kind of our approach to everything is the more you're prepared, the more your family is prepared, the more your community prepared, the more our county is prepared. And if everybody does their part, we will recover from this. And that's the main thing, is the faster we can recover from any disaster, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's a tropical system, a tsunami, whatever it is, we're going to be a better, more resilient community. And I think Daniel probably hit some of that as well when he talks. The other topic that we haven't talked about in a while is tsunamis. While it's a very, very small chance of happening for the Navarre Beach area, it's a very significant disaster if it did happen. We have the science has partnered with emergency management and done a lot of research. in the Gulf of Mexico. I am a member of the National Tsunami Hazard Mitigation Program, and as the lead for the Gulf Coast. And our partner is out of Texas, A&M, and they are Dr. Juan Aurelio, and he's done a lot of research. And basically, the science shows that we could have just over a 14-foot surge from a tsunami that generated from an earthquake, resulting in a landslide off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The difference between a tropical surge wave and a tsunami surge wave is a tropical system, we normally have at least 3 days, if not more, to prepare for it. A tsunami, we have about an hour and a half. So a 14-foot wave over Navarre Beach in an hour and a half obviously is a public safety issue. So that is why we are Tsunami Ready County. We've partnered with several of the condos out there to do what is called vertical evacuation. We've had, multiple conversations with our sheriff and our fire department out there of how to evacuate the beach area. Of course, the best thing about a tsunami, if there is a best thing compared to a hurricane, is the inundation does not go as far in. So we can evacuate to the mainland, and the barrier island will do just what it is designed to do and be a barrier for our mainland. And so we don't have to evacuate as far off as we do for a tropical system with the 150, 100, up to 180 mile an hour wind. So, as y'all know, I talk preparedness all the time, so I can babble on about everything. I will tell you, I will show you here. We have a beautiful disaster guide. The best thing about it in our day and age now is we have a virtual book on our website. You'll go to santarosa.fl.gov, go to the emergency management link. There's a wonderful interactive disaster guide. Now, if you would like us to come out and talk to your group or bring some disaster guides for you to hand out at your business, we will be more than happy to. We have, for those who don't like the virtual world and being on the computer, we do have some good old paper hard copies that they can read. I know a lot of our elderly citizens, that's how they stay informed. So if there's something we can do at Santa Rosa County to help you be better prepared, your community, your organization, we want to be involved and we want to help you do that. The other thing, and I know Daniel hit on this, that we're involved in now, we do some training in partnership with our sheriff's department, and it's called Stop the Bleed. And it's really about being prepared for an active shooter, because that is a real thing in our world. And I'll be happy to tell you that Santa Rosa County has taken it serious. While we hope it never comes here, we are prepared for that. We have integrated our fire and EMS with our sheriff's department, and we do fairly regular trainings on that. We use the summertime in the school system, and we run exercises with active shooters present, and the law enforcement goes mitigate it. And then the fire rescue comes in and starts the treatment and triage. It's kind of a different world we got into several years ago. And it's just what we're in now in this ever evolving world that we live in. So I'm not sure what all else I was supposed to talk about. I don't know if I covered everything, but I would love to, kind of answer any specific questions that y'all have about disasters, pandemics, or anything that you have an interest on. And then if there's not any interest, then I would say, let me promote one more thing before we go to Daniel. And I want to say that Daniel's always been a key component of this, and that is Safer Santa Rosa. And that's our alliance for emergency readiness in Santa Rosa County. And if you're over in Escambia County, they have an organization called BRACE, which is Be Ready Alliance. And that Safer is our organization. Daniel used to work here at Emergency Management, and the school board so graciously allowed him to continue being our prime Safer leader. And it is a great organization to be in. There are so many fingers that come off of it that your business, your organization can get involved. We're becoming more active. We were able to spin up our long-term recovery group following the wildfires. And, that was a small little challenge for us. that SAFER did very well at. And, you know, the main thing about SAFER is it's an alliance, which means we need partners. We need monetary donations. We need people involved who want to make a difference in their community. And I will let Daniel talk more about that. But SAFER is our organization, and we need you to be involved to make a difference in our community. So if no other questions or anything else you want me to talk about.
Yeah, hey, Brad, Mike Sandler.
Hey, Mike.
Good morning. Would you touch just a little bit on the transition from the first 72s on you to the new thought process?
Yeah, sure. So with the COVID response, the state is seeing that they're being strapped with some delivery items, you know. So kind of the push is the first 72 is on you to probably the first 7 days is on you. Now, we're working on some inventory stuff here in Santa Rosa County, but, you know, the philosophy of the state is changing that, you know, you need to be really prepared to sustain your household, your family, your contacts for 7 days. Because if the chain of supply gets interrupted, we have a widespread disaster, we have a large outbreak, and the truck driver industry is affected by that, then us getting resources in here is going to be a challenge. So the first 72 on you is still a motto that we're going to push. And then you really need to be thinking about spending that into 7 days. So, you know, thanks, Mike. That's a good point. It's really about preparedness. So you need to kind of dust off your plans and really understand that while your government is there to help you, personal preparedness is your responsibility. You know, we want to rely on the government when it's convenient, and we don't want them in our business when it's not. And, you know, that's always what I push. I want my family to be prepared. Obviously there is a role for government, or I wouldn't have a job. But personal preparedness is your responsibility. Taking care of your family is your responsibility. So you need to be prepared to be self-sustaining with food, water, medication, all that is in our disaster guide. There's a whole list of stuff that you should be prepared to sustain yourself for up to 7 days while we work through the disaster and work on getting supplies and restocking into our county. Now, I will say that over the years, we have seen a large improvement, especially in our large grocery departments, Publix, you know, the Walmart supercenters, the Winn-Dixies. You know, we have seen where they're stepping up. They're adding generators to their facilities. And, you know, obviously that's more than just to be there to help the community. You know, they don't want to lose all of their meat and their frozen foods and all that as well. But that's a huge step in the right direction for us in the emergency management world. You know, putting generators at gas stations that are on the evacuation route, that's a huge step. You know, gas is always a premium when we have a disaster and people start hoarding gas, I guess is the best way to say it, you know, but if you have a plan and you're prepared, that's what we really want you to do. Hope that answers it, Mike.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Brad?
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Tina Kirby with Paradise Learning. I sent a message, but I decided just to ask really quickly. You had said we could get a paper copy of the guide, and you had given a website. If we want it to get up, is there a place locally where we can go to get it around Navarre, or is that somewhere?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, if you will just call our office, it's 983-5360. 983-5360, and you just let us know how many you need, and we'll get them down there to you.
Okay.
We may be in Milton, but we love the south end of our county. We'd love any opportunity to come down there. Heck, Mike may have some with Navarre Cert that's handy, and if not, we'll definitely come down there and get you some. So just call our office, let Jenny know what you need, and we'll work out getting them to you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll make sure there's some at the chamber, some additional copies at the
Okay.
chamber.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Well, thank you so much for the questions. Thank you so much, Brad. I can't even imagine all of the behind the scenes work that you do to keep our community safe, and just the pressure and the stress that you must be under at certain times, you know, when we're going through stuff like this. So thank you so much for your work and for keeping our community safe. And now I want to welcome our next speaker, Daniel Hahn, and I apologize if I mispronounced your last name. Daniel was an emergency manager in Santa Rosa for 12 years before moving to the school district as the school safety specialist, a position that became a requirement in every county after the Parkland shooting. Daniel has an MA in emergency management and an MBA with a specialization in Homeland Security. Daniel is administrator of Safer Santa Rosa, a nonprofit created in 2008 to serve the needs of the citizens. Welcome, Daniel.
Thanks. Well, I'm familiar enough with Zoom meetings to know that they are limited in time, so I'm just going to say ditto everything Brad said. Any questions? Just kidding. Honestly, Brad covered a lot, and since he and I worked together for 12 years, we're of like minds. So I guess I will delve into the school aspect of what's going on within reason, because I know it can be contentious. So right now, schools are planning to reopen in August. That's what the governor told us to do. That's what we're going to do. We have been working endlessly since spring break on how to continue to educate kids at the end of last year and how to open schools as safely as possible, utilizing CDC guidelines, utilizing Department of Health guidelines, and guidance from the governor's office and Department of Education. I gave them in those orders for a particular reason, because a pandemic is a health issue. We are focusing more on guidance from healthcare providers, and it just seems rational to do that. And a lot of their guidance uses the word feasible, because they understand that I know it's been a long time since we've been in schools, but if you can remember the hallways, it's not feasible to socially distance in a 5-minute period when you're trying to go from one side of a school to the other side of school and you have to walk through all these hallways as quickly as possible. It's not feasible to socially distance on a bus when we can barely keep enough bus drivers now, and they have to be CDL licensed, and buses cost a lot of money. And to do any form of social distancing, we'd have to buy like 160 more buses and train bus drivers. We have neither the money to buy the buses are not available to buy, even if we wanted to, and we don't have the bus drivers to do it. So that obviously is unfeasible. So there's a lot of thought that's been going into how to do this. And I always remind people when they get mad at me, because I get a lot of questions, is that I've got kids in school. So don't think that we're just doing this arbitrarily and making it up because we don't care. Well, we do care. We're doing the best we can with what we've been offered in this very exciting year, where about, as Brad noted, everything, we missed the Hornets, thank God, no killer Hornets, but I'm sure we'll get them later, so wait on it. So again, we're doing everything we can in the schools. So switching back to what Brad had talked about with Safer Santa Rosa, what he didn't tell you is that his office really did a great job of looking holistically at the county earlier in the summer and deciding there were food deserts where churches and other groups were feeding, but then waiting 2 or 3 weeks before they did it again. So he partnered with us, and we partnered with Feeding the Gulf Coast, and Safer organized 4 feeding stations, and some of you participated. Mike Sandler was there, and we, because we did one in Navarre, we tried to fill those gaps in the county where there was not food distribution for periods of time, weeks. And since then, a lot of churches have stepped up, and there's been a decrease in need because, you know, the school district started their summer feeding program in the spring when school stopped occurring in brick and mortar, and they're continuing to do that now. Buses going around and food is being offered at certain schools, and the demand is getting lower and lower. So something good is happening, or people have just found a different way to sustain themselves food-wise. Safer also did the case management for the fire. We handed out over, well, probably $12,000–13,000 just in money to the people that were affected. The ones that actually lost their homes got a majority, obviously. And we're still working with them. We're trying to figure out ways to support those fire victims. And at the same time, we're doing things like providing money or providing service to churches that are doing work. Safer is all about volunteers. My office that you see behind me is Safer's office. And if I'm in my car, that's Safer's office. And if I'm at home, that's Safer's office. We don't have facilities. It's wherever volunteers are working. So Brad's church, for example, went out and took on the chore of building a ramp for an 84-year-old woman that couldn't get back into her trailer. She just couldn't move anymore, and she needed help. And Safer bought the lumber, and then the church did the labor. That's kind of what we try and do. Find the gaps, because the United Way is a wonderful organization I love partnering with, but nobody does direct service. It's hard to find an organization that will physically go out and do stuff other than food distribution. So that's what we're trying to do, is partner with our community members and partners around the county and fill those gaps and help that one person that needs help here, or that one person needs help there. You'll never hear about it all, and that's fine. We're not looking for any notoriety. Do you have any more coffee, Megan? Because I'm done. This was a coffee thing, right? Where's my coffee? My secretary didn't hear me. Anyway, it's a lot better when I can hear your laughter, and that's unfortunate, but at least I can see your facial expressions. That's what I've got, other than touching on what Brad's done, and I'm not going to do that. I will tell you that we wrote our first tsunami plan probably 10 years ago when we didn't know there was a threat. And it was funny that about 3 years ago, when we found out there was a threat, we already had a plan in place. So it was kind of ironic that happened that way. So any questions about schools or Safer, or if you didn't believe Brad, I can reemphasize what he said? I'll take that as a no.
Hi, this is Tina Kirby here.
Hi, Tina.
Hello, good morning. I actually do have a question, and I wanted to comment. First of all, as you know, we have wonderful schools in Navarre, and we're blessed to have them. But you do know, as you mentioned, we have an overcrowding problem. So if we had to do half capacity, do you know, are there plans in place for that?
No. Yeah, we're not doing half capacity. That was we broke our committee, our school committee. We broke it into 3 committees. One of them was curriculum, that looked at how to operate the school. I did safety, obviously, as a safety director, safety and operations and logistics. And then we had our contractors. What do we need them to do, and how are they going to work into this process? Mm-hmm. And they looked at a lot of different ways. And I think that what they came up with is the best we can do in the time we've got, with the resources we have, utilizing the guidance we've received. So what they're going to do, and this has been blessed off on the board as a framework, we're still adding change. That's important to understand, because guidance changes.
Of course.
Go back to school. We are going to strongly suggest that students wear masks. We can't force them. We have written it into our dress code, because we want them to wear masks, that they'll be appropriate. They're not going to have anything inappropriate on the mask. I say mask, I mean face coverings. It could be just a piece of, it could be a bandana that covers the bottom half of their face. It doesn't have to be a mask, but something. We would really prefer if everybody did it, because when you wear something, it's protecting the people around you. I don't leave the office without putting a mask on. I keep one in my pocket. because I care about other people. And if they don't wear it, then I understand they don't really care about me, but that's their problem, not mine. I'll deal with that by socially distancing the best I can. So that's the attitude I take on this. They're going to have, I'm trying to figure this out and how to explain it because I don't sit in on their committee meetings, but I've heard briefings. When a kid goes to school this year, they're going to have a computer, and one day out of the week, they're going to get the lesson on that computer. So let's say in October, COVID mutates and the mortality rate goes from whatever you believe it is now to 10%. And we say, okay, we're going to go back, everybody go home, we're going to do distance learning, but we're not back to the way we did it before, because before we had like a week or two to figure something out, and we just threw it together because they said, do it. Ah! And so we did it. That was a miracle, I'm going to be honest with you. That took a lot of work, and it wasn't pretty, but it is what it is. So we're planning for that to happen again, because we realize 5 years from now, it might be a different disease. What's happened just since I've lived in this county, we've had the H5N1 scare, which had a 60% mortality rate. Luckily, it never reached the United States. We had H1N1. We had Ebola, which luckily didn't have a high mortality rate and didn't hang out because it doesn't transfer very well, being blood. We've had SARS, again, very small transfer, MERS, and now this. So there's been a lot of diseases going around the world, and we've been very fortunate that only a few of them have really affected us. But there's more. Before I retire, there'll be another one, and we'll deal with it. So that's kind of where we're going, so that they'll be used to learning on this device that we're all looking at right now. And they'll be able to go and log in at home and continue to learn that way. And I saw a comment. You say every student will have a computer. In school, they will. They're not the kind that they'll be able to bring home. We're trying to build that capacity, but that capacity, it's not as easy as everybody thinks. And I understand it's like, just take the computer on the desk and go. Well, no, it can't, because the computers are set up to work on a school network. And if they leave the school network, all the firewalls and everything built in won't allow them to work at home. And so we have to physically go in and change a lot of these things. And we still have to protect the kids at home with firewalls and stuff if we provide the material. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't understand behind the scenes that are reasons why, not to mention expense, trying to buy enough computers for 1,000 kids when everybody in the nation's trying to do it. They're not there, they're too expensive, and we don't have time to program them all. But we do have some. And we had some that we handed out last semester of last year. But we don't want to go that route until, 5 or 6 years from now when we have enough for everybody. That'd be awesome. But if we have something this year, we're not going to be able to send computers home with every child. Fortunately, a majority of kids have computers at home and we're able to use them. So hopefully we'll be able to work through that. And maybe we'll just be able to stay in school. We're preparing.
Hey, Daniel.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Brenda Kay with Express Employment. To continue your conversation on school returning, what conversation has been going on with sports?
Sports has already started. We came up with a plan based on guidance from national level sports associations and what other counties in the state of Florida were doing. We backed off on their restrictions a tiny bit, but we've got kids working in, call them cohorts, if you will. We're trying to keep them in groups of 10. And if they're smart, I'm not a sports guy, but let's say we'll go with football.
Right.
Hopefully they're going to work with different positions in this group of 10. So if I'm in a group of 10 or even 11 and the safety comes down with COVID, and I might lose everybody in there, which means I'm only going to lose one receiver and one defensive lineman and one backup quarterback instead of keeping them all together. So again, that's a coach specific thing. Also for the first 2 weeks, and this probably started, our step one, which is 2 weeks long, is going to end soon. We told coaches they have to go slow. Kids have to bring their own towels and clean their own equipment, so we're not sharing cleaning stuff. Because if you've been to a gym, you show up down on somebody's sweat and you're like, oh, gross. So we're trying to do all that. We're trying to distance, so coaches shouldn't be right up in anybody's face yelling at them anymore. They should be at 6 feet away. They're gonna have to yell a little louder to get their point across, maybe. And we're trying to make all this happen. We understand that sports is important, and so we've tried to do our best to make it safe. We haven't necessarily worked out how to do the actual games, but I can say we are going to follow the guidelines from the CDC first, DOH, and if we're still in a phase 2 and it says 50 people congregating, if it's inside a small area, we're going to stick to that 50 people. That's just the way it's going to be. We're going to follow the rules so that nobody comes back on us. Even recommended rules are rules, standards that we can follow. So we'll see what it looks like. There was some rules out there, some examples of don't share balls. And we thought, well, how do you play volleyball if you...
Really?
That doesn't make sense. So we backed off of those things that didn't quite make sense.
Right.
But we are trying to be as safe as possible.
Right. I mean, I guess from a viewer standpoint, when you look at the fact that we just celebrated graduations, and obviously there were more than 50 people in the Bay Center. Yes. Certainly, especially with football, that's going to be the first sport that is going to be coming off of all of this, and it's an outdoor seating. So
that makes it better. Yes, absolutely. So remember, there's some interpretation. So if they say don't congregate in groups of more than 50, what does congregate mean?
Right.
If you're in a football stadium, you can have more than 50 people because they're not congregating. Now, if they're all standing around one goalpost, that's congregating.
Right.
So the Bay Center offered us some plans. They sent us blueprints, and they had 2 dots spread out, and then they had 4 dots spread out, then they had 6 dots spread out, and they said, here's some plans. And they were going to 50% of their capacity. And we opted on the 6 people plan, so that students could bring up to 6 people with them. We thought that was the best plan for the student to have as many people participate in their graduation as possible. And the Bay Center ran all that. And I thought it was really neat that they came up with these plans. And on paper, it looked wonderful. I don't know what it looked like in person. But again, Brad has mentioned this several times, and we're promoting this as well. This is a community issue. Mm-hmm. Everyone that goes out should be wearing a mask and doing their best to socially distance themselves. And if they're not, well, then unofficially, I'm going to say they're part of the problem. So it is what it is. We do our best. We can't force people to do things. I'm interested to see what football looks like too.
Right. Thank you.
Anything else? All right, that was easy. 2 questions, nobody yelled at me. Now I got to go take the phone calls where parents are going to yell.
Well, thank you so much, Daniel. It's just hard to imagine all the different moving pieces, especially behind the scenes, that both you and Brad are tackling every day in such a fluid situation and constantly changing. I don't know how you guys get any sleep at night, to be honest. I don't know if I could.
Well, let me make this one comment. What we're doing is difficult, but imagine being in public health right now, where they are forced, the state is pushing everything down on public health. So our local public health are having to make decisions that affect us all. I can't imagine being in their shoes. So absolutely. Virtually hug a nurse.
Yeah, absolutely. You certainly are right. Well, thank you all so much for your time this morning. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. I love seeing everybody on here. We are hoping next month that we are maybe going to be able to meet in person. Of course, it's all subject, that's a fluid situation too, but we are possibly looking for a location to meet in person, but of course, subject to change. And this will conclude this morning's Commerce and Coffee, but please stay connected to the Chamber and reach out to new contacts from this morning. And if the Chamber can do anything to help you, help your business, help your family, or you have any suggestions for us, please let us know. We are just happy to take any suggestions and ideas.